So we got a new special for Miraculous Ladybug. Admittedly, I wasn't sure about this special because it's another multiverse story, and I'm kind of burned out on them. We've had a lot of multiverse stories this year that were pretty lackluster. They were rushed and not well handled, and kind of felt like they were just doing it because multiverse has become popular, rather than actually thinking about how it affects the story. But after watching it, I was pleasantly surprised. Not only did this end up being a pretty good multiverse story, I actually think it's one of the best pieces of content we've gotten out of Miraculous Ladybug. Season 5 was rough. The special actually takes place during Season 5, not long after Marinette lost the Kwamis, and Adrien was forced to Cataclysm Hawkmoth, which they actually address, and he's taking it very hard, expressing to Plagg that he's concerned about not being able to control his powers, to which Plagg is very nonchalant, which is kind of a big deal because his powers are literally destruction, and we've seen the extent of them before. While I did enjoy the special a lot, I did have some problems with it, but it wasn't enough to bring it down. But first I want to talk about the things I did enjoy. I think one of the reasons this special worked so well is how they utilized the characters. Oftentimes they'll use characters for shallow cameos and fan service, rather than doing something interesting with them. But that wasn't the case with the alternate versions we see here. They have their own fleshed out characters, and they feel interesting and unique in their own right. And the way that they bounce off their counterparts is also interesting. We did get some fun fan servicey references, but they managed to be cool without taking away from the overall story. I really liked this version of Gabe, and his motivation to keep going and look for hope even when everything seems bleak was really inspiring. It is pretty cool to see the butterfly Miraculous be used for its intended purpose, using positive emotions to turn others into heroes, and I especially appreciated his relationship with Nuru, considering how terrible Gabe is in general in our world. Not just to Nuru, but his own son. I also really liked the development that we got with Shadybug and Claw Noir. It felt really natural, and they do feel like a real mirror to our Adrien and Marinette. Like this is what they could have been if they didn't have a strong support system. It was all pretty believable, rather than them being evil just because they're from a mirror dimension or something. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but it was good character development. One scene that I thought was really strong was when Ladybug and Cat Noir were confronting Shadybug and Claw Noir. Shady and Claw end up breaking down because their lives have genuinely been horrible up until this point. It seems like in their world, things like friendship are outlawed. The whole thing is ruled by a tyrant called the Supreme, which I'm assuming is Master Fu, but it's never stated. He controls all of the Miraculouses, and tricks others into doing his bidding by giving them the promise of the power of the Miraculous, but not telling them all the downsides to it. Like Shady and Claw use their powers without limitations, however the Supreme didn't tell them that doing so would harm them, and by the time they figure it out, it's kinda too late. On top of that, Tiki and Plagg seem to be gagged, so they can't even talk to Marinette and Adrien, meaning that the two of them are pretty much completely alone. They're also constantly bullying each other and trying to steal each other's Miraculous. It's all very unfortunate. There's a point where Shady finds Marinette's diary, which has a lot of sensitive information in, and in retrospect she probably shouldn't be writing that stuff down. Sure, it's in a locked box, but that didn't stop Shady from finding it. She reads through it and discovers Marinette's life, and about how great her friends and family are. She tries to pretend it doesn't bother her, but it's pretty clear that she's sad and jealous about it, to the point where she wants to switch lives with Marinette. She reads about how you can make a wish if you combine the Black Cat and the Ladybug Miraculous. Again, Marinette put a lot of sensitive information in here. So she steals Claw's Miraculous and tries to make the wish, but the Supreme has already accounted for that, and put a block on that too, which leads to a pretty big moment for character development for these two characters. First of all of the commotion ends up getting Sabine's attention. Conveniently, she just talks through the trapdoor instead of actually opening it though, but it seems like this Marinette doesn't have a good relationship with her mother in her world, so she's very snotty to Sabine at first. But when she realizes she's being nice, she changes her tune. She claims that she knocked over her sewing machine and that's what caused all the noise, and that it's damaged now, but Sabine tells her that everything that's broken can be fixed, which is something I think Marinette needed to hear. This whole situation revealed their secret identities to each other too, and I liked this reveal. It wasn't very dramatic, but I don't think it really needs to be. They don't exactly do the love square this time around, with only Adrien being shown to have a crush on Marinette, rather than her alter ego, which is pretty cute, but Marinette isn't shown to have a crush on anyone. She's mostly surprised since she was bad-mouthing Adrien this entire time as a spoiled rich brat. But they have a moment where they come to the realization finally that the Supreme is not what they thought. Shadybug ends up breaking down, and Claw comforts her. She does push him away, but it's a start, and it's the beginning of her shedding her antagonistic ways. I also like the way the special handled our Adrien and Marinette. Adrien often gets the short end of the stick with this series. The season 5 finale is probably the best example of this, where he literally sits the whole thing out, despite being one of the title characters, but here he was utilized well, and he and Marinette got great development. Seeing them interact with their alternate versions of themselves was really engaging, and it helped them work through each other's problems. They had to talk down their counterparts, but in doing so, it helped them ease their own tensions, like Adrien revealing that he's considered using the wish to bring back his mother, unknowing that that's exactly what his father wants to do with the wish, but ultimately decided against it for the greater good, because somebody else would have to lose their mother in the process, since the wish can't bring something back without also taking something away, which helps Claw see the error of his ways, and the two of them work through their loneliness. Meanwhile, Marinette also empathizes with Shady, and explains that she was able to overcome similar problems that she had by having a strong support group, which while Shady doesn't have right now, she can build, and the two are able to make amends. The two of them even change their costumes to better reflect their new outlook on life, and they finally become a team and have a much better relationship. It was really sweet. I actually really liked getting to know these characters, and I wish that we could see more of them in their world. What are the chances this special will get a sequel? Now for some of the things I didn't particularly care for. My first issue was how Shady and Claw came to this world to begin with. What happened was Betterfly gave Alia of his world the power to open portals to the mainline world, but after he crossed over, Shady and Claw forced her to let them through too. The thing is, he could just take her powers away now so they can't cross over, but instead he just takes Marinette and run, abandoning Alia in the process. So they come through and then he takes her powers away, which also leaves her at their mercy. Luckily, they lost track of her pretty quickly, but still, they could have really hurt her. The whole thing kind of felt like they just needed the plot to happen, and that's why he didn't take her powers away to begin with. The other major issue I had was how things wrapped up. Basically, Shady used her Miraculous Ladybug, which seems to be the first time she's ever performed it, which magically fixes everything as usual, but it also fixed the damage done to her and Claw Noir. So now they're not dying anymore despite overexerting their powers, which is really cool, but if that's the case, doesn't that mean that Marinette from our world could also do that? Negating all the negative effects of abusing their powers? Claw Noir even forced Cat Noir to cataclysm him. It seemed like some kind of weird power move, but the Miraculous Ladybug fixed that too, despite the fact that that's what's killing our Gabe in this world. Doesn't that mean that our Marinette should have been able to heal him to begin with? In the episode, they said that her Miraculous Ladybug wouldn't fix it because Gabe teleported away before they could do anything, but shouldn't a later Miraculous Ladybug have fixed it too? After all, this time they used it fixed previous damage as well. It all just seemed really convenient to get that happy ending, which I do appreciate, but I wish they'd written it to be a little more believable and not breaking continuity. That being said, Miraculous Ladybug has had worse issues, in my opinion. So overall, I really did enjoy the special, even with its flaws. I really liked Shadybug and Claw Noir, and I hope we get to see more of them someday. Who knows, maybe the special will eventually get a sequel. It would be cool to see their world and find out who the Supreme is. But in the meantime, I'm happy with what we got. But that's my opinion. What do you guys think? How did you feel about this special? Did you enjoy it? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching, everyone. I really appreciate it. Before I go, I'd like to give a shout out to @Arixius on X for doing this adorable piece of fan art of us. It's the two of us as cats. It's so sweet and we love it. Thank you so much for the fan art. I'd also like to give a shout out to our members: Tyrant Carnivore, Shiny Orc Boy, The Rabbit Mancer, General Bolivar, Depth Charge Media, Samaru163, Gabby Hime, Verdant Range, JVR, Hussyman42, Nixel, Phil C, Taylor Ramirez, Caleb Nelson, Takari the Professor, Equestron, Norman Sweetcream, Way Beyond Coincidence, Garcia XV Legend, Hunter Rose, 80s Nostalgia Guy, Felix Spam, Soundboy00, Kitsune Fiora, Lucas Geist, Jay Draws, Blue Spirit, Bandito Bane, Meowsers, Sky, Jin KZ, Philip, Stutania, Isaac Martinez, and Lil. Thank you all so much for supporting the channel. If you want to become a member, you can hit the join button next to the subscribe button. We also have Buy Me Coffee if you want to support the channel that way. And if you enjoyed this content, I'd appreciate it if you left a like on the video and subscribe to the channel, and that part's free. Thanks again everyone, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.